Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you are doing well today and you are ready for today's show because we have a great one lined up for you. You may notice it's a little bit time shifted, but hey, we got it in before the end of the month and it's with none other than Nathan Evans. He is managing editor over at Popzara.com. If you haven't heard of them, well, computeramerica.com. We will have a link in the show notes, really to everything that we talk about here on the program today, including our guest website. And over there, you'll find a wonderful medley of everything from just, general topics to, general topics isn't like, state of gaming. That's kind of what's up on my screen right now, so that's what comes to mind. But book reviews, comic reviews, movie reviews, tech reviews, all that and more, quite adjacent to us, but at the same time they cover so much more, him and his lovely band of writers. So with that being said, computeramerica.com is where you'll find everything, and let's go ahead and just bring on. And once again, he is a longtime Computer America contributor and managing editor of Popzara.com. And Nathan, welcome back onto the program. How you been?
Ben, you know how much stuff I had to move around for you? I had meetings with the Pentagon, the president, who is the president? No,
Yes.
But I had meetings with him, whoever it is. And you know what? I skipped it all because this is Computer America and people want to hear what's going on.
I appreciate you, but the world's kind of turning to doo-doo, so you might want to keep some of those appointments eventually.
Enjoy the ride.
In the meantime, thank you for joining us, and you brought along a number of stories for everyone out there who may be new and don't know how this is going to go. Nathan brings to us a number of just, kind of topical stuff. Sometimes it's fun to just catch up on the news with Nathan, and we're going to sprinkle in some of our own, little commentary, and of course, some of the writings that happen over at Popzara. We're going to sprinkle that throughout. But Nathan, for everyone out there who, again, is new, what would they find if, they don't have the rambling Ben to explain what's over at Popzara? What is there?
Well, a little bit of this, a little of that. We are basically the golden corral of pop culture websites. You can find a little bit of this.
Than that.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You're at least Orion's. You're at least Orion's.
I'll say this though. All the fun, less calories, but just as filling. No, it's a little bit of this. It's derivative of, Popzara, of course, is like a bazaar of pop culture. That's a retcon, by the way. We didn't think of that going forward. It
works so nicely, though.
Exactly. So we have to take credit for it in the future. No, but it's a little bit of this. We have reviews on pop culture stuff. We have games, we have movies, we have books, we have technology, we have a little of this, and increasingly, I want to point this out. So everybody gather around, listen. Uncle Nate's talking. It's no politics. Okay, I want to be clear about this. No snark, because right now, I would say for the next 90 plus days, you're going to want to get away from all that. So come to us and relax. And don't worry about being triggered.
I have realized that over, a number of years, I've been subconsciously trained due to advertising to, avoid a lot of it. Like, the content that I consume is mostly, kind of ad free. I pay where I can to get rid of ads. Like I'm actually like less tuned in when I think, Nathan, so many people are just bombarded with ads after ads after ads.
And we don't even know what ads are. Like, that's the thing. When it comes to ads, it's not just, hey, buy my product, or it's not the simple thing anymore. Sometimes you could see an ad and you would never guess in a million years it would be sponsored content or some type of advertising. And by the way, little last lesson. Sometimes an ad isn't even an ad. Sometimes an ad is just massive amounts of content pushed towards something from a bunch of different sources. It sort of works like a mental DDoS, where you just get bombarded with the same messaging over and over and over again. And what it does, it creates sort of an what's the word I'm looking for? Not antithesis. It's you create like an apathy towards it, where you sort of get beat down. Where
I kind of feel that way about the Olympics. It's not like I never cared or didn't care about the Olympics, but like I enjoyed seeing, some of the, best performances. I enjoyed, kind of the medal count and stuff like that. But it's almost like, and I was just talking about this with Bridget, where it's like the Olympics is in a spot where, athleticism at its highest level will always be entertaining, and of course athletes from all over the world coming together will always be entertaining. But right now it's stuck with, I think NBC has the rights, and they're still mostly stuck behind a cable subscription, and they're trying to pump ads into it to make it a profitable venture because they secured the rights for like $300 million and they got to make their money somehow. Nathan, it feels like the Olympics are stuck in cable television, and we are so far into streaming and just online content.
Well,
I don't know.
If you saw the opening events over in France, a lot of controversy because it featured unconventional performers. I actually thought it was entertaining. Like I was like, wow, this is like the Eurovision show. Like Europe is trying desperately to establish some sort of mood for itself, right? And so I'm not offended by it. I actually thought it was pretty entertaining. I don't let little things like drag queens bother me, but I will say this. The most entertaining things at the Olympics for me have been, did you see that photo of the guy on the surfer where he looks like he's suspended in air? It's the most amazing photo I've ever seen.
Let's see, surfer Olympics. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the photo of the show. It doesn't look impressive until you realize what's actually happening.
Oh,
look at that. Look at that. That's insane. Look at that.
Yep.
No AI there, just
quite
good old photography.
Quite the dismount.
And isn't that nuts? And the other thing where the swim team could not swim in the Seine because it was too full of poop.
Yeah.
And so they used another word, but that's
they're French,
that's
so
the Olympics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Le poil, le poupois, le secrétaire. But no, I just said something. But what I'm saying is that you're right. But I would give another example would be like the Kardashians. I have never seen 1 millisecond of footage of that show, but I know so much about them.
You're very aware of them, yeah.
Yeah, because I've been bombarded with it, and I can't get rid of it. I can't. It's like bed bugs. Once they're in, they're in. You're done. You just have to burn the house, start over, salt the earth.
Well, we're going to try to avoid that, but at the same time, hey, we got our own headlines, and they are carefully curated. They are carefully selected. Honestly, they're all very interesting. So I think you got a very good list.
It was tough.
Going on here.
Tough.
And but, a lot of it very timely. And I think we're going to start with this first one here about Amazon. And, Nathan, it's like Amazon has no problem putting their logo on every box, on every package, on every door, on every store, on every product. They want they want you to think, hey, I need something, and something can literally be anything. And they want you to think, oh, Amazon will send that to me in 2 days or 1 day, whatever it may be.
Do you live next to a hub? Do you live next to a hub?
I do not. No, I live next to a Whole Foods, but not a hub.
Do you get same day junk delivered to you?
No, my wife's from Dallas, and Dallas I think does have it, and really it's amazing when you order something and then 2 hours later it shows up at your door.
Yeah,
and you're like,
it does.
Are they waiting?
And you can track it too, and you can track it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, if you live next to the hub, it's even quicker and almost spookier. But still, the point I was trying to make was that Amazon loves to be present of mind and first of mind when you order something. But then when it comes time to return something, they put so much onus on, well, this is a seller through Amazon. It's not really us. And, if you want to get your money back, contact the seller first. Don't talk to Amazon.
I disagree. I disagree. Yeah, I actually think it's the opposite. Do you have Prime?
Yes.
Okay. I actually think Amazon needs to be applauded for how easy they make returns, because I actually experience this myself. Like we do a lot with Amazon, with my day job and everything. We order a lot of product. And yes, I am near a hub, so, a little bragging.
Just brag, Nathan. Just brag.
But if you have an Amazon product, if you buy a product from Amazon, regardless if it's good or bad or junk, you can bring that thing back to like 15 different stores. You can bring it back to Kohl's, to Whole Foods, to UPS stores, to all kinds of things. Sometimes you need to scan a little QR code. Sometimes you need to print it out. They'll print it out for you. Sometimes, like I actually ordered some bed frames the other day for an apartment we were fitting out, and I only needed one. Turns out I needed one. So I was like, I call Amazon. I said, I need to return this bed frame. Like, just keep it. What? Yeah, refund issued. What? Because
It's
they don't want to go
cheaper
through
just let you have it.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
cheaper. And if you buy like little things like a knob or like a little USB cable, it's under $10. Sometimes they'll just say, just keep it. We don't want to bother taking this crap back. So you just keep it. And I was like, how are people
How
not
are you
exploiting
making
this?
money? Yeah.
Yeah, because they do bulk. They literally flood the market with garbage, just absolute garbage that they make money in volume. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I have had good experiences with returning a lot of products. I have also had bad experiences returning things to sellers, and
that's different though. That's not Amazon though. That's a seller.
But I went to Amazon.com, so I'm gonna say it was Amazon.
I don't trust those people. Look at them. Look at those shifty eyes.
There are a lot of sellers on there that it seems like you buy something and within like 2 days the whole store has closed down and you can't, there's no one to talk to and no one will process your return.
I'll give you a great example. I know exactly a brand that does that. The brand is called Cowin, Cowin. They make the most popular headphones on Amazon. They're called the E7. The problem is something happened with the store at Amazon. They were one of those stores that they have a website, but there's a lot of storefronts that only exist as Amazon storefronts. You know this. So this company called Cowin got booted off Amazon. But the headphones still exist. They just rebranded. So like 15 other companies have taken the same headsets and put their sticker on it and rebranded it, right? So this happens so much, but to be honest with you, Ben, I do the same thing with eBay. I do the same thing with Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
If it says shipped and sold and shipped by such and such, I don't buy it because I'm going to have exactly the same experience that you just said. You're so spoiled by how seamless the Amazon is that you mistake it. Same thing. You're like, oh, well, it's on the Amazon store. Amazon doesn't give a crap about you. They don't care about you. They want your money. But if they facilitate the transaction through somebody else, like a third party seller, then your money might as well gone down the sewer because you're probably never getting it back. You could do a chargeback, by the way, but the problem is it still goes through Amazon's processing thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the problem.
So all this to say that mixed reviews. Okay, well, let's say mostly positive, but mixed reviews on Amazon Recall. Amazon Returns and stuff like that. Well, Amazon is a massive organization. I will be the first to admit that I don't know how they keep the whole thing running. But looks like now they have a new issue on their hands where this is from Ars Technica, but of course you can find a lot of other places. Amazon forced to recall 400,000 products that could kill or electrocute people. So yeah, let's see. So they failed to alert more than 300,000 people, and the Consumer Product Safety Commission testing found that more than 400,000 products that third parties sold on its platform. So essentially, Amazon was not properly vetting, which, Nathan, it's like telling Facebook, hey, I can't believe you allowed those images, or hey, you allowed those messages on your platform, Facebook. It's like, there's like 3 billion Facebook users. How the heck are you going to monitor everyone's speech? Just like, which I think we have a story later getting on about fact-checking Facebook, which is, kind of similar vein. But still, Amazon did not properly vet the products on its platform. And honestly, I don't know how they could have in the first place. They're just so
I don't think
massive,
they did any. I don't think there's any vetting. Can I tell you a little secret?
Yeah.
Have you ever stayed at Airbnb before?
Almost, but no.
Well, if you've ever stayed at an Airbnb, if any of you listening have ever stayed at an Airbnb, I'm about to shock you. Airbnb doesn't check the houses or the apartments before they allow them. There's no vetting. It's 110% all trust, and you can put your apartment or house on Airbnb. There is no guarantee of safety. There is no guarantee of cleanliness. There's nothing. In fact, even with multiple infractions, no physical person from Airbnb ever goes out there and physically looks at it. It's 100% based on trust.
That would be a cost savings to not have to do any checking whatsoever. So I can see why that could happen.
So basically, it's like how GameStop used to work. Like GameStop used to have this program, and they would take your old Xbox, PlayStation discs, and they'd sell them. And they have a disc cleaner. Here's the truth. Here's the truth matter. They never cleaned them. They would take your disc, wipe it off, and put it on the shelf. And because because cleaning every single disc would take too long. So what they would do is they would sell you the disc, and if the disc worked, great, everybody's happy. But if they bring it back, they still got your money, no returns. They'll clean the disc for you. So they're taking the chance that a plurality of the discs are going to work, knowing full well that a percentage of the discs are not going to work. They're willing to take that risk because the cost saving is better than the reputational damage caused by the faulty discs. And that's what Amazon does. That's what they do. It's just easier to just wing it and just hope that most of the stuff doesn't kill you. So
to get to another point in the article, which is saying Amazon has made no direct attempt to reach consumers who obtain the hazardous product as gifts, hand-me-downs, donations, or on the secondary market. I don't believe that Amazon really has that much of an obligation to, once it leaves the consumer that purchased the product, it may still be a dangerous product. And, they're talking about death and electrocution. That's a pretty serious problem. But they're not going to hunt down. It's like, oh, yeah, I gave it to my little cousin. And, they're going to go hunt down my little cousin. That's not going to be it. But do you think Amazon has some kind of responsibility for alerting consumers that, hey, a product you bought on our platform is dangerous, you need to return it? Because that seems to be the part that they fail to do.
Yes, but more importantly, that if Amazon is willing to facilitate the transaction with the auspices that the product is safe, that they guarantee they recommend, then they also need to enter all of the consequences of these things. So, for example, the Ars Technica article was very glib with the language they used, but I think everybody's dancing on the fact that let me quote what they said. So the commission found one example of the defective products was, ready for this? Quote, and I quote, sleepwear garments that could ignite and result in injury or death. Like, listen to this. Children will continue to wear sleepwear garments that could ignite and result in injury or death. Ars Technica, in their colorful language, they called it highly flammable children's pajamas. Now, call me crazy, but how many failures in product testing did we have to go to make a children's garment that is not fucking flammable? Okay, forgive my language, but it's like baby toys that have lead. Like, there should be a list of basic things. Okay,
no,
and
yeah,
come on, people.
I'm guessing it's some kind of like heated blanket that's just not made very well, or some kind of like heated
pajamas.
Heated pajamas that you plug into the wall. But honestly, plugging anything that your baby is physically wearing into the wall just seems like a bad idea. But
yeah, your baby does not need to be plugged into the wall. but you see, like, what's the testing? And look, I have read 1,000 books on Chinese manufacturing. And by the way, let's be honest, that's where this crap is coming from. Let's be honest. Yeah. This is not coming out of a factory. This is coming from factories in Guojing or Guangzhou or whatever. And you can read, I think the name of this guy is Paul Midland. There have been exposés about Americans that have gone over there and basically been disgusted with the manufacturing thing because there's absolutely no safety testing, whatever. The reason this crap comes from China is because it is cheaper to come from China. And the reason it's cheaper is because they don't do the things like the testing. Like I just told you with GameStop, because there's a reason why your bid is lower, because you're not going through all those procedures. Mm-hmm. If you could think about it, you think your expensive bid on non-flammable children's pajamas is going to be the same as that bid on non-flammable children's pajamas from China? There's a reason why they're cheaper. They just don't care. The safety protocols are not that large. We laugh at things like labels that say Cape won't allow child to fly, or please don't put fork in toaster.
My mother, for a new dog, just bought us a gift, and it was like a dog bowl, and it was like raised food bowl to prevent choke. And
yeah, exactly.
It was a good joke, but Yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, though, people laugh at all the protocols, they laugh at all the red tape, but look, let's be honest with you, like they exist for a reason. And I am one to take a little more precaution when it comes to certain things like children or pets or citizens or people that can't make those decisions for them. A baby is not shopping at Walmart for the best product. The baby is having the product thrust upon them. Same with the dog food.
Right.
You don't want to give your dog food contaminated with lead particles or glass.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think I'll be honest with you, Ben. I think this is part of a deeper rot. I think this happens everywhere, and we accept it because we want the low price. To me, this is no different than the transactional benefit of having like free services like mail and whatever. You just have to give over your privacy. Like that's one thing.
Give over your privacy, but also give over your trust and almost like a sense of security. Because like in my mind, like there are so many examples of this exact policy that, cool that we have trillion-dollar companies, being built on this. But like you said, kind of like with the Airbnb thing, and, you could talk about Uber, you could talk about all the food delivery, you could talk about grocery delivery, you could talk about Amazon, you could talk about eBay. Like all these companies operate based on, like you said, people's innate trust and some kind of sense of, the majority of transactions that happen are going to be good and legitimate.
Majority are going to be, or the risk, as an insurance adjuster will tell you, the risk does not merit the expense. And I will say this. I'll give you a great example of how our brains sort of reconcile this disparity. Like, we want something to be perfect, right? We want it to be perfect. We want 100%
I am a little
perfection.
concerned that we're about to get into like philosophical, like society.
Oh, no, I'll keep it simple.
And I'm just saying that personally, like that's what this kind of feeds into.
It does. And like the phrase is, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
But like, I'll give you a statistic. Every year in the United States, about 38,000 people die in car crashes. Right? We have a whole industry of auto safety, crash dummies. Whatever the case, about 38,000 people a year die in car crashes. It's the single cause of preventable death. The single largest. You know what's funny? Every year, about 38,000 people die of gunshots. It's shocking how those two numbers line right up. But we have entire lobbies about defending guns, and we have entire lobbies about banning guns. But you don't see a single lobby. You don't see a single one saying, let's ban cars. Yeah. They cause the exact same amount of death. Do you know why? Because we love cars. Everybody agrees that cars are great. So we're going to risk going into cars, even though it kills as many people as guns, because we want to drive to work. So we reconcile the disparity between that, even though it causes the same amount. Why do this?
Even though it's dangerous,
because
it's useful.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So
good point.
Again, so the whole world is GameSpot. We're willing to accept low prices for faulty discs once in a while.
But at least Carvana cleans the car before they sell it to you, I assume.
Sometimes. I've had some nasty Hertz cars rented to me. So,
well, there's a reason that they almost went out of business. But okay, neither here nor there. Let's move on to the next story, and this one is about Intel. And I know it's been so long since we talked about them. It's been hours.
Minutes.
Intel finally announces a solution for CPU crashing, claims elevated voltages are the root cause, and patch coming by mid-August. But like you said before the show, Nathan, this doesn't really help those who have degraded or damaged hardware.
Well, same thing as Amazon. This story is exactly the same. You have one of the largest companies in the world, a company that literally focuses on this thing. And these particular generations of chips did not go through the standard testing, or they somehow slipped all of this stuff. They're blaming it on, I think, computational issues where, the software the chips will try to draw more power than they're safe. But NVIDIA had issues with this, with GPUs that overheated and melted cables. So we're kind of, we need a new word, Ben. Let's go ahead and make some history. We need a new word to define when Moore's law is irrelevant and companies are trying to fly too close to the proverbial sun, that their chips and wires are melting and causing fire damage inside your PC. Like, I get it. This is look, You said don't
Icarus's
plug your
law,
baby.
you will burn. Yes.
Icarus's law. There you go. Icarus's law. So you know what? Patent that thing. But it's like we talked about flammable pajamas, like electric baby blankets. Okay. Don't plug your baby's blanket into a thing. But this is a PC, okay? Like I know we've talked about it being mainstream, but at the end of the day, you're putting together a machine that plugs into power. What is it? A 650, 1,000 watt power supply.
Yep.
This can kill you, right? And it's kind of magic that we somehow have silicon that can diffuse so much heat with just fans and water. That's pretty cool. I won't lie to you. But so maybe we're expecting a little too much, but we're trying to squeeze all this power from aging silicon that frankly probably can't support it anymore.
It does seem almost inexcusable from Intel that, like this thing says, the 13th and 14th generation, if you go back to, obviously you can go all the way back to Pentium and whatnot, but, you got like 4 or 5 generations out of a traditional Intel kind of iteration before they moved on to the next die size. Intel has been lagging behind. I think they're still using the 13 nanometer or something like that, whatever it is. AMD has already moved on to 7 nanometer and they're working on 5 nanometer. Intel is so behind the curve, and that's almost why I say it's almost inexcusable, because Nathan, you think after, what is this, like 4 years now, 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, they would have a firmer grasp of the hardware, and they wouldn't make, and like this is such a big issue, because not only because it causes complete crashing, it's unfixable until August. It causes actual permanent damage, but because it happened to me, and that makes it so much worse.
You just paraphrased Mel Brooks. You know that?
How's that? I do love Mel Brooks, but how's that?
Yeah, Mel Brooks' most famous quote, right? Like literally, this is the thing that's going to get him in Bartlett's, right? And can we both agree that Mel Brooks is the king of comedy?
Of course.
Can we say that?
Oh, of course.
Okay. We've established scientific fact. Mel Brooks said, tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall into a manhole and die.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, Calvin. And so that's what you just described. Like, oh my God, it happened to me. It's terrible, right? Oh, those other people, whatever. They should have known.
Yeah,
better.
but and obviously I'm a little jokey there, but for Intel to sell CPUs that are defective, and again 13, 14 generations into this version of the hardware, it's pretty crazy. And obviously I'm reading an article here about another company that's switching completely over from Intel to AMD, and obviously that's just one company, but I'm sure a lot of people are starting to get frustrated that they're paying more for less power, and now they're unstable and can even cause damage.
We need to be clear that this is not happening in a vacuum. This is happening at a time of crisis for companies like Intel, where their bread and butter, like in the world of marketing, it's called dinosaurs and mammals. That every company that becomes so big based on one thing, like the reason the dinosaurs got so big and fat, it's because they had no competition. Like the reason an Apatosaurus or a Deinonychus was the size of a building is because nothing could eat it. It was too big. Right? But so you know what happened? So these little mammals are running around. Asteroid comes. Boom. Guess what? Now it's the time of the mammal. And that's what's happening with Intel. They got so big and fat, so lazy for so long. And despite the fact that the competition outpaced them, undercut them and everything, it took Apple leaving. Now it's taking Microsoft leaving. So you have Intel that's basically still trying to present old technology. It's trying to squeeze as much power as it can to be competitive against its competitors. They can't. They didn't know. They've done nothing, like you said. And so, but you're loyal. I know I have people on the staff that are loyal. Even though they could get a more powerful chip for less money, they still cling to this idea that Intel's the gold standard because they grew up with it. It's a name they trust, and it's not scary to them. And that's the truth. That's the truth. I like Intel too. But I don't think I have any Intel chips in my house. Not by choice, but my iPad has the M chip in it. My PC has the AMD chip in it. No, you know what? I'm wrong. I have an i7 in my laptop. So I'm going to go check it.
Well,
but still,
you can look at the video and you can see my old elderly face and say, yeah, this is someone who is going to spend, hundreds or thousands of dollars on a computer, and I need to trust what's inside of it. But of course, Intel, man, they are, it's like, no, they won't beat me again. They were so good to me in the beginning. It was, I don't know.
But this happened right after the Qualcomm chips from the new Copilot PCs were announced. Like when you're starting to have like power differentials that are too good to pass up. Like I get it. I probably wouldn't buy a Qualcomm chip right now as my main machine, but can you imagine what that value proposition is going to be in like 2 years when they finally get that together? Like that's going to be insane. Like why would you have an Intel chip when you could get something that's twice as powerful, cheaper, and won't melt and degrade? It's just the way things are. It's the way things are. And if I were Intel, I would think of a new slogan. I would think of a solution for this fast.
Yeah. And so for everyone out there who may be like, but Ben, what is the issue? The processors were demanding too much voltage and causing instability during gaming and other workloads. So if you were just playing games that would otherwise be completely normal, which is what I kind of did, like even after knocking everything super down to low, like Nathan, I bought a $4,000 computer, $4,000. It was a work expense, government, so it's okay. But I bought that thing and I had to turn settings down to low because it kept crashing day after day, getting worse and worse. This was the issue, and apparently a lot of people have been figuring out that, my temperatures, Nathan, they went to 100 like every time.
Did you have the temperature gauge on? Did you look at it? Did you see spikes?
Yep.
When AMD brought out their, I think, the Ryzen 7 chips, there was talk about the CPU spiking and getting high. But you know what? AMD resolved that in like a day, a week. They were right on top of it. Oh, update your BIOS. Like I remember I had to do that, right? But they were on top of that stuff. Like this went on for weeks. And the problem is it damaged the systems irreparably. You can't fix them. They're burned.
Yep. That's the problem.
I don't think we know if they're actually going to replace them or not. They should.
Yeah, they definitely, and if I'm familiar with corporate lawsuits, which we've done enough of them on the show, you keep your proof of purchase. You prove that you bought it between this date and this date, and in 3 years you're going to get a coupon for probably $200, or a rebate for $200 that the lawyers hashed out for you. And again, you have to provide all this documentation. You have to jump through so many hoops, and maybe you'll be one of the lucky 10% of people that qualify to actually get money. So keep your proof of purchases.
And by the time you get your money, it'll be 15 years from now. You'll get a check for $35 after the lawyers take their cut.
That's Apple. Just kidding. That's Apple. They'll give you $10 store credit for a phone case. So
Apple will go to the ends of the earth to admit that they didn't throttle their batteries. Like Apple is a different breed of greed. Can I say that? But this is different, though. The Intel thing is different. I'm going to watch this very carefully, and I think any OEM should watch this very carefully, because I think this is going to have an impact on tort reform in regards to how consumer protections are, because this literally is the most egregious thing that I've ever seen a company like this do. This is a little beyond. Can you imagine if you invested in workstations, or you set up a college, or you set up
spend almost $5,000 on a computer? Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, you would be beyond pissed. That would be a little different. So
yeah.
AMD people, AMD baby.
It was an issue. AMD makes great chips. I'm not disparaging them at all. They do have a fix coming out. So if you have one of these problems, in fact, I just saw someone the other day experiencing the same issue and tried to help them troubleshoot it. Intel. Once again, I think they had a 14900K. So you can find out more about the exact models and which ones it is, but just know it's the higher end 13th and 14th generations. And those consisting of the K, KS, and whatever whatever other naming scheme that they have nowadays. Those are the ones that are affected. So there you go. Good luck, Intel. No small task. So with that being said, let's move on to some good news. We talked about advertising earlier, how it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. You can't get away from it. Except there's a new Oasis, Nathan, and you have linked a story saying that, Microsoft has made Skype an ad-free Oasis. That's right.
You know what this is?
Last 3 Skype users.
I'm a Skype user. I'm not going to lie to you. I use Skype for the podcast. I like Skype. I think Skype's great. I actually think Skype has the potential to be better than the program we're using now. Like, it has every reason to be better. It's been around forever.
Yeah.
It's got so many features. It's got Skype. Put it this way, you could use Skype, right, on a Chromebook on the web version and make a podcast and record. You could do so much. It has so much stuff built into it.
We did use Skype for years on the show here. And for some reason, the pandemic hit. You would think Skype would just boom because everyone would have to go to communications. But for some reason, Zoom took off. So
Zoom took on because I think it correctly predicted that there would need to be a non-consumer version of VoIP calling and messaging, whereas Microsoft took Skype in the other direction. It made a miscalculation.
It tried to go social media almost, right?
Yeah, it tried to go social media. It prioritized emojicons over like conversations. And the truth is, but the power backing Skype, whatever magic they're doing, is the best in the market. It really is better than Zoom. Like you don't need to get a subscription to Skype to have like 15, to have a bunch of people. I can schedule a meeting. I can send you a link. We could do this. I can record. I can transcribe. I can share screens. It does it all. And it does it all really well. Like I can actually stream gaming. Like sometimes when I want to show a game to someone, I can stream the game. It looks like better than Twitch. The problem is that crappy interface. Oh my God. And then they kept putting this, they put ads in there. They did messages I didn't want. Like, why would you do this? Like, why would you do this? Why would you put all this glop all over this fine program? And to be honest with you, I get it. If I was a business, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch Skype. It looked poison. I would use boring old Zoom. Zoom looks like a professional program. Yeah. Is there any emojis on this thing? Look at like the chat thing.
I think you can react with like little clappy hands, but that's about it.
Like literally, if you go into Skype, like there's a section for emojis right in front, but you have to dig for the share screen button. Why? It's like
I'm concerned though, Nathan, because Microsoft has 2 competing services, and when one goes ad free,
about Teams.
Yes, Teams.
Yeah.
What happens when Teams and I'm predicting it here, and it's not that radical of a prediction. What happens when they say, well, no more advertising, so we don't have any contracts to break. We're going to start to phase out. We're going to announce an end of life for Skype.
They did it both. They've already done it. They used to couple Teams into the Office. Well, first Skype was part of Office. It was part of the button. It was pre-installed on Windows 10 and 11. Then they took it out. Then Teams was bundled in. They got in trouble for it. Then they unbundled that. So I don't think out of the box that there's any good VoIP meeting program.
Yeah.
But again, I want to change focus real quick. Go back to Apple.
Yeah.
Right. Apple doesn't seem to have this problem. Like what Microsoft wants Skype to be, or what they thought it was going to be, they wanted to make Skype the FaceTime of Windows. Because FaceTime is great. It's got a dumb name, but it works. I mean, how many times have you been grocery shopping? I know I have. And you see people arguing over FaceTime.
Yeah.
I had this one guy the other day. He was in the grocery store and he had his iPhone propped up in the little baby seat.
Yeah.
And he's wheeling and he's arguing with his wife in public over FaceTime.
How efficient.
Yeah, but it's like you never see people arguing over Skype. And so it's like do.
You know why? Because because they both realize that, hey, we're both adults here. We're both over the age of 60. We don't need to argue like this. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what though, when we do the podcast, I'll be honest, we talk to a lot of people that aren't technically savvy, right? And with Skype, you can have a phone number to dial in. You could dial out the phone. You could do all this stuff. It is so feature rich. It is so amazing, and you don't have to pay for almost any of it. Maybe $3 a month for the phone, but with Zoom, you got to pay to have more than 2 people on. You got limitations. You got all this. But if I was a business, that would be an expense I would incur with Zoom because, again, the interface is better, and Skype is a massive clustercluck of confusion.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that they are removing ads from Skype because they did not belong there. So they did not belong.
It seems very, very reminiscent of Gmail removing ads from their service, where it's like, it was there. They probably weren't making that much money, and it was more intrusive, worrying, and just more of a pain in the neck than it was worth the advertising dollars. And they got more goodwill for just removing it. So,
well, again, I mean, does Zoom advertise on their program? I don't think they do.
No.
Exactly. It's like, why you got to be very careful, because with advertising comes data suck and data collection. So what if you're having a business meeting on Zoom and they're advertising, but they're also siphoning data from you and your clients? You don't want that. You can't trust that.
To be fair to everyone out there who's like, finally, I can have those super secret occultist meetings on Zoom. I will say they are responsible for tracking and recording and submitting concerning meetings to the authorities. So, you know, I'd say they're up there with like Discord in terms of like recording information. So.
Oh, and by the way, and that's the other thing. I don't think anybody anticipated like Discord, which is a gaming thing, becoming so widespread.
Discord I know you had accomplished what Skype wanted. I think.
But again, we had Slack, but I think is Slack still around?
Like they might have disappeared or been folded into Teams or something. I don't know.
Well, exactly. Like Teams is basically just a clone of Discord. But even Microsoft themselves have adopted Discord for a lot of things. Like Discord somehow became a standard and people became very happy with it. So, yeah. But again, I like Skype. I cherish Skype. I think Skype's a great program. But Microsoft, get your crap together. It is the interface is horrible. It is bad.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, hey, just think of it as a learning curve. You're a Skype pro. You're there you go. So there's that story for everyone out there who uses Skype, and trust me, there's someone out there who, for old time's sake, you know, it's like, hey, let's upgrade from TeamSpeak. Let's go ahead and get on the Skype and, you know, have some fun. There you go. With that story, let's go ahead and jump on over to, hey, speaking of things from the past, the Xbox 360 store, if you may recall. Man, I think they like stopped service for the Xbox 360 servers. And we're talking like, you know, play all your old games. Like, you know, you can play old games on newer hardware and you can buy them through. And I think they even gave you, you know, a lot of these games through like Xbox Game Pass, or just gave it to you just for owning the disc or something like that. Yeah, they had a lot of like, here are the games you already bought. Get them on your system while you can. And now, after July 2024, and obviously today being the last day of July, so after today, Xbox, the 360 store will close, but I think you can still play the games, if I'm reading this right. You can still play the games that you have purchased. You just, like the old Nintendo store, you can't, or was like the Wii store, you can't purchase new games, but you can still use the ones that you have purchased. If I'm not mistaken, that's what this says, right?
No, you're not wrong. It's a little confusing because there's actually 3 generations at play here. So the Xbox 360 was released, 2005? So we're looking at 19 years, I think.
Yeah.
The Xbox 360 store at the time was the best of what it was. Arguably, maybe even still the best of what it was. It was pretty revolutionary. This is 2005, 2006. That predates the app stores.
Yeah.
You know, this is pretty interesting. And I've always gone on to say that Apple, for example, the best thing they ever did was the App Store. But they didn't invent it, you know. Even Nintendo had their App Store a little before Apple did. But before Nintendo was Microsoft, and Microsoft's biggest contribution to the entire video game industry has been what we're looking at right now. They created the first stable online store. They created the first stable online play, and they did it really, really, really well. Like it was pretty damn good.
Yep. And then of course what Microsoft has really, you know, I think luckily for a lot of people have done is that they have worked on backwards compatibility for old titles. So even though right now you are looking at the Xbox Series X and S, the Xbox One, whatever system you may have, a lot of it is backwards compatible with old games that you can still purchase through the new Xbox store. And then, like I said, games that you already bought, DLC you already bought, won't be affected. In fact, reading the article here a little bit closer, you can still play online with friends in those games that you have already purchased. So
there's a few cautionary tales here, and this is unavoidable. Again, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. But this is regards to gaming and like film and TV content. And I know right off the bat, if you bought any movies from Microsoft during this process, they're gone. You won't be able to watch them anymore. Say goodbye.
Gotcha.
But you see that a lot. I mean, I think everybody thinks that the movie services online are interchangeable. Like, oh, I bought it, it'll be here forever. No, it really won't. Like, it'll be gone before you know it. Like, oh, like
Digital
if you have some
content
service,
digital
yeah,
content has taken on a whole new meaning, and it's almost like this like you said, the idea of ownership is not what you're buying.
you don't
So,
own anything. You don't even own the license anymore. You're renting a license. But the fact of the matter is that Xbox 360 was an enormously successful console platform with a gigantic catalog of really, really good games that Microsoft was able to carry that forward onto the Xbox One and to some extent the Xbox Series X and S. The biggest issue, though, is a lot of these games were available through disc, like through Blu-ray. I'm sorry, not Blu-ray, whatever format they used. It wasn't Blu-ray, by the way.
yeah, I think it
It
was
was
the
their own
DVDs,
version.
or whatever
It was something, yeah. But the fact of the matter is that we are going away from optical. Let's be honest. Even the new Xbox coming out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone claiming that CDs are on the upswing. It's like, not really.
But when you had an Xbox One or you had an Xbox Series X, though, one of the benefits is that you could play the old games. You couldn't do that on the PlayStation. You could play Xbox people have been playing Red Dead Redemption on their new Xboxes for years. And it was even upscaled to 4K and everything. Whereas I think PlayStation just got it like last year. You had to rebuy it. And so like there was some benefits to having Xbox stuff that was backwards compatible. With the end of optical, online was your only way to do it, and now that's going away. So I think what Microsoft's saying though, Ben, is that you'll still be able to download the games you purchased,
Yeah.
but you won't be able to buy anything new. But that, make no mistake, that's probably coming to an end at some point too.
Yeah.
I
I don't think anyone out there
Yeah.
who is still somehow not red ringed their Xbox 360 thinks that it is a viable solution for years to come. It is not. It's time
But
to jump ship. So
There is one thing though. Again, the Xbox 360 had a gigantic, one of the biggest and the best libraries of any console. Where are these games going to go? And I don't know if it's content management, I don't know if it's licensing, but they have to go somewhere. And I think you'll probably see a lot of the best ones repackaged as, retro collections or whatever. Just like, to be honest, just like anything else, just like any other platform. Like you can't go to Toys R Us or whatever and buy a new NES game. You can't go
the best ones will be headliners for the Xbox Game Pass for sure. So there you go.
Exactly.
And then the worst ones will be in Game Pass, just not advertised. So
I actually think if I had to make a small prediction based on nothing, but if I had to, Microsoft made a big deal. We didn't talk about it when they introduced Xbox cloud streaming to Amazon Fire devices last month.
Yeah.
And again, this is not anything new. You could do whatever. Luna, Stadia is dead. But at some point, there's going to be consolidation of these streaming services. And at some point, it will be more economical to offer gigantic libraries where you don't have to download, that licensing could be based on play, not, access. And so, yeah, I think that's
Spotify
probably what's going to happen.
instead of iTunes.
Yeah, pretty much. See, Spotify, the big deal for Spotify is that you can get Spotify on a toaster. Like there's no barrier to Spotify, whereas Apple makes it really tough to get Apple Music, like prohibitively tough. It's a great service, just hard to get.
Well, I mean, iTunes isn't like, you bought a track for 99 cents on iTunes, where that just doesn't happen anymore. So,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the tech world at CES, by the way, have lost a lot of money thinking it does still exist. Like, oh, people are going to want to pay $40 for a FLAC album. I'm going to make a music player that only plays
that
down.
was the whole thrust behind Tidal, and Tidal I don't think they're doing very well.
I think whatever the medium is, movies, music, games, I think we've really come to an impasse of binary choice. I think you either have quick, cheap streaming, digital, whatever, and you have physical media, collectible. You have Spotify, you have vinyl, you have digital movies, or you have Ultra 4K Blu-ray. And the physical stuff is going to be not necessarily harder to find, but it's going to be harder to get, right? Best Buy is getting rid of their optical media. So you probably won't be able to go and buy, Alien Romulus on 4K Blu-ray at Best Buy, but you will buy it online. Specialty retailers will do it. And that is going to give you a better version than the streaming stuff that comes out, right? That's going to be better.
Right.
Same with these collectibles. Like I forget, it's called Strictly Limited Run Games or Strictly Run Games. They take digital games and give them physical media, right? And it costs a lot more, you'll get whatever. But at the same point, though, you'll have something a little more collectible.
Yeah.
So, and that's where you want to invest your kids' college funds in physical video games, because those will definitely appreciate in value. Absolutely.
Some of them do, but not many. I have an original version of E.T. the NES game, and yeah,
from the dumpster or from the landfill.
Oh yeah, it smells horrible, and I'm not going to get my money out of that. So
no,
yeah,
but you'll have the memories
right
last forever.
It's awful. It's awful. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to this next one about Facebook and Meta. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, did you know Trump almost got assassinated a couple weeks ago? We haven't really talked much about it here on the show because hey, everyone else did. We didn't have to.
I think we need to do a little trigger warning here. Sorry, apropos of nothing. But I think we need to say that this is not a political story. This is an AI story in regards to social media.
Correct.
Would you agree? And it just so happens that these type of stories always seem to pop up around giant elections. I know, crazy, right?
Well,
imagine the coincidence.
And obviously that's going to happen when there's more things that are talked about on a contentious issue. The elections are one of them.
Well, I didn't put the other story in, but this didn't happen in a vacuum. Let me put my tinfoil hat on and say something very conspiratorial.
Sure.
I think there is collusion between social media networks. I do think there's collusion between giant networks. I don't think they get together like in a Mr. Burns mansion and convene. But I do think, if you look at the tech world, and I think you would agree, that they're all reading the same notes. They're all reading the same tea leaves. So I don't think there's any conspiracy that everyone is doing the same thing, but they are all operating from the same vantage point. They all know what's coming. They all see what's coming. So I sent this story about Meta AI, basically saying the Trump assassination attempt didn't happen. Google did the exact same thing. Like, people were testing out the Google things, and guess what? It didn't exist. And then I started looking into it a little bit more, and I had been following this. AP, Associated Press, whatever. They would use language like the shooting at the Trump rally. They wouldn't use the word assassination attempt. Like, certain news media would use certain types of language. And I have no doubt that sort of data is mined in these AI models. So instead of saying assassination attempt, it does this. Whereas, again, let me go back to Trump. A couple months ago, there was a controversy with him about when he used the word bloodbath to describe an auto industry being wrecked. And for about a week, we said, oh, bloodbath, he's inciting violence. That's a marketing term. Like, bloodbath is a marketing term. But the data around that term became very violent. And so I think the data sets associated bloodbath with violence as opposed to a marketing term. Same with assassination attempt now. It's been downgraded. So I don't necessarily think that Facebook is going out of their way to say, ooh, this didn't happen, we'll change history. But I do think this shows the failure of model sets that can inherit the bias of reporters. And that bias can muddy the system. We talked about this before, about people that were poisoning the data sets with AI specifically to influence. And that's what I think happened here. I think... To get to what Facebook kind of said here, and I'm going to jump to the second point first and then the first one. The second point, they're saying that they flagged a photo of the Secret Service being on top of Trump. I'm sure a lot of people know the one, with the flag in the background, him, all that kind of thing. Someone had doctored that photo to make the Secret Service look like they were smiling when, obviously they were, in various facial poses. But that was the picture that they had said, this is not real. This has been doctored AI, whatever. And Meta puts up a tag saying, hey, these things are not true. This is, they put tags that make people aware that, this has been influenced in some way. They said that the original photo was so close to the doctored photo that, you kind of got some false positives where actual photos of the event got flagged because they were too close to the doctored photo, if that makes sense. Well, on X and Facebook, you can actually report certain postings. And one of the categories they have, which I don't agree with, by the way, this is a very European thing, is you can be flagged for denial of historical events. What that means is the Holocaust denial. That's what it always comes from.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, well, why would you deny the Holocaust? Like, of course, but there are people that think it didn't happen. I disagree with those people. But in Europe, you can go to prison for doing that. In fact, I think a 90-something-year-old old lady who's basically batshit crazy, she's going to prison because she denied the Holocaust. In America, you can say the moon landing didn't happen. You could say
One of
Elvis
my
went to
favorite
space.
examples of that kind of thing is Wolfenstein, where they recently came out and they had all the Nazi stuff, because Wolfenstein is inherently about killing Nazis. In Germany, where the whole thing kind of takes place, they weren't allowed to have a single kind of Nazi kind of paraphernalia because it's banned in Germany, and they had to change it all for a German release. So
that's not going to change your history, Germany. We know what happened, but the fact of the matter is that sometimes maybe we get a little spoiled being United States citizens, where to us it's a non-controversy. Like, what do you go to jail for saying something? Like, it's one thing to say, I am going to kill you. I'm going to come to your house at 6:30 and hit you with a hammer. That's violence. That's a threat of violence. But to say something didn't happen, I think to the Western world, to us in the United States, we don't understand why that's a bad thing. We know it's stupid. We know it's crazy, but people have now attributed actionable offense. And going back to this, again, non-politically, but going back to this Trump assassination attempt, we can have a discussion what caused it, what influenced this person.
Sure,
but we're not. but we're not talking about that, though. We are talking about the way media covers it. And again, you know what? We have a damn theme for this show, Ben. We have taken for granted that AP and routers or whatever have become trusted news sources. But we have seen cracks in that system where subtle uses of language can determine how we feel about things and can inculcate conspiracy theories. Like, again, there's already conspiracy theories. There was no Trump assassination. It was all a cover-up, and it got a lot of traction. See? According to Facebook, according to Meta, according to Twitter, that would be a violation of terms of service. It's a denial of a historical event. So do we want to ban those accounts for saying that?
We're really seeing the stretching and almost like you said, the cracks in what AI can do. AI can do so much, and it really is an incredible technology. AI for moderation can save a lot of time and honestly a lot of people's sanity, but Meta here in their own posts kind of say that it's just not reliable when it comes to breaking news or returning information in real time. There was a time with I think it was OpenAI, where they hadn't updated the model, and they apologized for this during one of their keynotes. They hadn't updated the model for 18 months. Like, if you ask who was the president of the United States, it would still say Donald Trump, because they just hadn't updated it for 18 months with relevant new information. It could tell you what people ate in the 1400s for dinner, but it couldn't tell you who the president was. And that's where AI, I think, is really starting to show, this is a developing technology. It's not great when it comes to immediacy.
About 2 weeks ago, Mark Zuckerberg was giving an interview, and he's in his kibbutz phase. I don't know if you've seen him, like where he's got the shaggy hair and he's not clean shaven and everything. He's going to go do some time in Israel, but he's giving an interview where he's talking about, he said, oh, Trump getting up and going fight. He's like, that's the most badass thing I've ever seen. He got a lot of flack for it, right? But that's just Zuckerberg discovering what masculinity is. Like even if you hate Trump, that's kind of a Rambo thing to do, right? That's kind of, and then 2 weeks later for his entire system to deny the action. It does show you the disparity between that. We have so much trust to these AI models, so much trust to these AI systems. And we've seen this time and time and time and time again, that they're not trustworthy. Now, again, I just want to be clear. Nothing's 100% trustworthy. We talked about Amazon, we talked about whatever. But at the end of the day, though, the models that they're using, Ben, are not necessarily models that, they're not necessarily models that we use to choose milk and cookies, but there are models that we're using to book airplanes and to book travel and to make political decisions. They're not the same. And if you're getting information it's not objective, you're getting information that is factually wrong, and it's not necessarily being corrected in time, and that's a problem.
It's a problem, and it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. It cannot go unaddressed. But the problem is there is no alternative. You cannot hire the workforce you would need to monitor or deal with the
that's
billions
true
of posts a day.
I'll tell you what I really like, though. What I really like, I kind of like what X has been doing. And I really wish Facebook would adopt it. And I wish, in the old, remember when websites were new and everything had a forum and everything had comments, and a story would come out. And if it was fake, the comments would say, hey, this isn't real. And they'd put information, and the writer would say, oh, thank you for pointing that out. And they'd go and make a correction.
Yeah.
There was a symbiotic relationship between them. And then trolls came in, and then advertising came in.
Feedback,
and pretty soon, feedback. And people didn't like it. And they shut the comments down. I think that was a big deal. A lot of websites don't even have comment sections anymore. What X has been doing is community notes. Have you seen these? Fantastic. It's the best thing he's ever done.
I have. And a lot of them are, they're much faster than AI, or I should say much more accurate, and they're much faster than like you said, just a curated team who is moderating can do. So.
But to me, that's been not only the best thing that Elon Musk has ever done to Twitter. I actually think that's common sense for social media. We don't need a bunch of Byzantine, hidden people at Facebook deciding what's true or not. We can do it. If the community says this is fake, they can fix it. They can figure that out much faster. And they don't need a community of that. You know that.
Yeah.
If a movie comes out, if Gladiator comes out, right? Gladiator, $150 million movie 20 years ago. The nerds will spot Russell Crowe wearing a Timex watch in 5 seconds. Or they'll spot the airplane. How did that get past all the people? Because the nerds, they know. They love this stuff. They live for this. This is their purpose. And also there's
100,000 nerds and there's 10 editors.
Exactly.
So,
literally, if I was making a movie or a video game, I would just give it to the nerds for a week, give them a pass at it. And they will find every problem.
That's the idea of beta testing, or at least it used to be the idea of what beta testing used to be. Now beta testing is just paying for early access, and they make you pay to do a job. But
exactly. But you got to these people will find every fault, everything that you've ever done in life. They will find every incorrect thing, and they'll do it really fast, and they'll do it for free. They won't charge anything. But that's what I think community notes are. You put community notes on a Facebook post. I don't need a fact-checking organization. Let the users do it. They'll figure it out. Figure it out.
Yeah, and obviously even that would not be foolproof with enough of a concerted effort by a small group of people. I feel like even that could be hijacked. But from the community notes I have seen on X or Twitter or whatever, it has been good. Especially 24 hours after, they've been extremely accurate. And
they've forced companies like AP and Routers and New York Times and everything to correct themselves. They forced it. I come from an old school journalism in print where it's really expensive, right? We used to do this thing when we printed out our magazines. We would have something called Pagination Day. We would have this big pagination thing, and we'd print everything out on high quality DPI paper. And the whole staff would have to come over with magnifying glass and look at everything because this crap was expensive to reprint, right? Very expensive. What the New York Times has done, what newspapers do, it's got different names, Ben, but what they used to call it was page 1 error, page 7, fix. So you have a big headline that was misleading or factually incorrect. Oh, but 2 to 3 days later, the correction would come on page 7 where no one could see it.
Yeah.
Because you remember what we talked about advertising becomes like a blunt force instrument? I can promise you, that there is a calculation made that if people don't have the full facts, they are willing to go with the innuendo if it serves the purpose. And I got a great example of this, Back in 2004, I think it was on CBS, on TV, Dan Rather, who was the anchor of the CBS Evening News, willfully put out documents that his own staff said were questionable because he wanted to influence the presidential election. A nerd was watching TV and on that fuzzy resolution on a TV screen recognized the documents were created with Microsoft Word because he could tell the line spacing on the documents. Called him out. Dan Rather was fired. He was fired from his job and they had to issue a retraction. Then you find out later that they knew the documents were fake, but the important thing was they needed to get them out because, again, against all things, fact checkers rule. Put them in charge of this stuff. Put them in charge. You're not going to get a perfect thing, but you're going to get a more accurate thing. And that's really the purpose. What do they say about free speech? They say
that's where AI has not really, kind of fulfilled that purpose. Although I will say that is what they hope AI will be, is be that fact checker. It's not there yet.
I think it won't work, and I'll tell you why. For a very simple ancient reason. It's a very Greek tragedy reason. It's I forget the actual story, but it's the story where the people were getting sick in the village, and I think it might have been Hercules. If it's not Hercules, then someone can come and get me. But the idea is they found like a dead animal at the root of the waterways, remember? And that one thing was poisoning the entire water. That's what AI is. It's not that AI is not good. AI can figure this out. People can figure this out. It's that we've anointed a very, 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 very small, obviously biased group of people to be the arbiters of what is factual or not. And I say, get rid of them and open source it. Let people open source and correct the facts and data as they come in, like anything else. And that will help.
Could very well help. I will get to this real quick about Meta and Facebook and what they say. They said that so their AI model was immediately, and by the way, whoever out there is going to Meta AI and saying, hey, my friends just told me something about Trump, can you tell me more? Meta AI? That's a dumb way to get breaking news, and you shouldn't do that. But anyways, I will say that it looks like Meta and Facebook have said that they have trained their AI model to not comment immediately on, company says program Meta AI to not answer questions about an event right after it happens because there's typically an enormous amount of confusion, conflicting information, or outright conspiracy theories in the public domain. And they said that in a small number of cases, it was due to hallucinations. Hallucinations just being things that the AI
that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's like, so you want to take the entire purpose of AI, which is to quickly ascertain, and they could do computational things faster than anybody, but we're going to take that. That's like having a mock racer car that can go 0 to 60 in 1 second, but making it artificially go 0 to 60 in 60 seconds because you want to be safe. Like, the AI models need to be smarter, it needs to parse, and there needs to be some sort of labeling that this information has not been verified. But the one thing it does not need to be done, it doesn't need to be curbed or censored because we're waiting to hear. That's the whole point. I can go to Twitter and I can find out in 5 seconds. I can find out who was assassinated, who they tried to assassinate, and which girl in a bunny suit is going to stream the best Twitch game. Like, I can figure this stuff out, right? But we are not stupid. Yeah. People are not stupid. Some people are stupid, but not all of us.
They also finished out their statement here on their forum post saying that, like all generative AI systems, models can return inaccurate or inappropriate outputs, and will continue to address these issues and improve the features as they evolve. So they fully admit AI is wrong. Sometimes
of course it's going to be wrong. People are wrong.
Yeah, no, people are wrong, and of course AI is also going to be wrong. So
let me say this. We could be on this for hours. You and I could teach a college course on this, but I'll say this. If you're listening to this, I have 3 words for you. Ready? Dewey beats Truman. You know this?
Beats Truman?
Dewey beats Truman.
Oh, beats. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, type that in. You see that?
Yeah, I remember that newspaper.
Yep, that's exactly what we're talking about. Because the people at the newspapers in the old days, they would have to write the news before it happened. They had to get it in the can just in case. So there would be basically AI models based on, okay, well, we think he might win, so we'll write this headline. We're going to write this. This is nothing new. The problem is that sometimes the wrong thing goes out. So what we're talking about is nothing new. You're going to get it wrong. It's okay to get it wrong. You fix it later if it happens. But the idea that we're going to wait and we're going to wait till it's perfect because we're going to get the model, we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to have the God molecule where everything's going to be right all the time. And all I say is Dewey beats Truman. You're not going to get it right.
No.
So don't put your finger on the scale. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. If anything, it's a good lesson to, not completely believe AI. And honestly, AI is great, fantastic. I think it has a lot of promise. It is a developing technology. People, I think, just sometimes put it too much up on a pedestal. So, with that being said, something not put up on a pedestal, I'm sorry for saying that and having to transition to this, the State of Gaming, July 2024, over at popzara.com. You can see it right there on the right. You guys do a podcast. I know it's great. How did it go? What's Yeah,
It's
what
a
can people find?
pretty slow month. The format's been reduced because, frankly, that's what people want. So we basically talk about the biggest games that are coming out for the month,
Mm-hmm.
this being July 2024. And then we talk about the little news stories. And again, there's a lot of cloud gaming stuff in this month with Amazon and Microsoft. There was the Halo TV series was canceled because it was garbage.
Yeah, and nothing of value was lost. Yes.
No, in fact, much was gained. Further reputational damage was avoided.
Yeah.
There was an interesting trailer for, speaking of Amazon, their new show from Sega, based on Sega's Like a Dragon Yakuza. By the way, very exciting stuff. That show better not suck. Have you played the Yakuza series or the Like a Dragon?
I have. I have
fun.
seen only a couple hundred hours of Yakuza being played. So
okay, so you are familiar. Why?
Yeah.
I was talking to Corey. We live in this renaissance of Japanese content where we're not exactly getting pure Japanese, but we're getting Japanese inspired. We have the new Hulu version of Shogun,
Yes.
which by all accounts is great. We have Yakuza, we have anime, we have manga, we have Studio Ghibli movies actually becoming #1 at the box office. We have Godzilla -1. This is a good time to be a fan of Japanese stuff, and the content is usually pretty
After
good.
just having seen Godzilla -1 on Netflix, they're releasing a black and white decolorized version of it.
Yeah, don't do that crap. The movie was made in color. Okay, if
Yeah.
the movie was shot in color, it needs to be seen in color. You can't take away the color. Black and white doesn't work like that. It's not a filter. But did you see -1?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did. Yeah.
It was great.
I honestly did. It was good.
So but going back to this though, yeah, so it's a good time. I can't comment anything more than that, other than I think if I could be cheap and cheeky and cheesy, might be a good way to segue into, and I have to strain reality to do it. But did you see Deadpool?
I did indeed, and I will give the warning here. Let's see. So I don't have a sound effect for this, so okay, we'll just do that. Anyways,
Okay.
for everyone else
do we
out
talk
there,
about
this will be the
spoilers?
last topic that we talk about before we
Yeah.
wrap up the show, and we're going to do it for like 5 minutes. So I promise you, if you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, because I just don't care to kind of censor myself for spoilers.
Yeah.
There will be nothing more. We'll wrap up the show and we'll catch you here next month. For everyone else out there that has now stayed, you will get spoilers. Nathan, I did see Deadpool X Wolverine, and it was a lot of fun. What'd you think?
I will say this. It was a lot of fun. As a movie, it's not a great movie. It's barely a movie. It's basically what fun stuff can we pack into this movie to mock everything? I don't think the action's as good as the first one. I don't think, like I said, it's got pieces. But what it does, it overcomes all of that, and I think exceeds the originals. And I'll tell you why. Because Deadpool has always been sort of a response to the MCU. It's always been, they're PG-13. They're very careful. We're dirty and nasty and violent.
And we are R, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Super R. But it's cartoony R. It's not like Schindler's List R. Okay, it's something else. Although there is a very copious opening scene desecrating the corpse of a beloved death. So that's pretty intense.
Again,
pretty
at
fun.
this point, if anyone out there is still listening, spoilers can go out the wayside. The opening scene where they're just taking Wolverine's corpse and just slinging it around.
From Logan, by the way. Logan.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
It is the best way that they're like, how are we going to handle this beloved hero's death? And then they just shove him into everyone's body parts for 5 minutes. It was great.
To the tune of NSYNC's Bye 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 with a dance off.
That is what Deadpool always, kind of brings to me. And maybe it's because like I haven't seen like a movie in theater since like Dune 2 and whatever. And like I've seen very few films in theaters. This is like the first one that I'm like, that was a lot of fun. And that's what I walked away from it with.
And if you see this movie, see it in a theater with a lot of people. The energy, I said it's not a great movie, and I don't necessarily think it's a great, Martin Scorsese cinema, but it is ridiculous fun. It is a lot of fun. It's stupid, silly. The plot doesn't make a damn bit of sense. But you know what this is? This is when people talk about star power and acting. This movie would not work if it had anybody else playing these characters. Like there's 25-year history of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he brings all of that to the thing.
Yes.
And this is the best he's ever been as the character. Can I be honest? Even better than Logan. This is the best
for sure. Him, and I don't know, like something about the costume. Obviously, they made a big deal about that, putting him back in yellow,
which is ridiculous, and I love it.
And then he pulled up the mask, and the movie theater I was in just lost it. It was so much fun seeing him again look like his 90s glory,
to the tune of Madonna's "Like a Prayer."
Yes,
perfect cat, and lots of music montages in this film, by the way, and ugly dogs. And cameos, tons of cameos, all good. All of them.
As soon as Blade and Elektra like walked on screen, I was like, oh my god, that's Blade, that's Elektra, and my mom was like, who's Elektra? And I'm like, oh my god.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though. Blade started the whole thing. Like Wesley Snipes' Blade, that was the first of all of this crap back in '98. And famously, Marvel cannot make a new Blade movie. They just can't seem to do it, right? And they had Wesley Snipes.
I think he referenced that, saying like there will only ever be one Blade, or I'll be the only Blade, or something like that. Yeah.
Can I tell you something? He still looks amazing. He still looks great. Yeah. The gray beard works. Make old Blade. Make it. It would work. And then they had Chatham Tanning as Gambit as the joke, like because he never got to be.
His costume was so like iconic. Like he walked on screen,
it looks exactly.
And obviously, I think he was supposed to have a movie, didn't get a movie. You can instantly recognize like this is Gambit. Yeah. The accent was hilarious, but
that's funny. That was the best part because it was intentionally bad.
But the character looked spot on.
He was great. Perfect. He was perfect casting. He just never. His whole shtick was like every time they're talking about what they lost, like, oh, some of us have never had it. You know, it's like everything he did was meta. And
some of us got our ending, and he's like, I never got my beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing was great. Even Jennifer Garner as Elektra was great. She was great. Everybody got one. Right. Yeah. That's the old Spider-Man thing. Everybody got one. There are so many
references, and like it's one of those movies that I look forward to watching again at home, just to kind of pause it and enjoy it. The entire bit with the Human Torch was perfect.
That's the biggest spoiler for a lot of people, because that's the biggest fake out, because you thought Captain America was back. Oh, he's gonna do it, and then he says flame on, and you got it, and that's the joke.
That was hilarious.
And then but then the joke had a sequel after the credits. You know that.
Yeah.
I won't spoil that part, but I'll say this: everybody was having a lot of fun, and it's. When people talk about actors, like these actors are having so much fun. He's having more fun as Johnny Storm than he ever had as Captain America. Yeah. Like they're having fun. They're not being they're not being prissy about it. They're being open. They're mocking. Everyone is being mocked. Like Wolverine. Remember comics accurate Wolverine where he's tiny?
Yeah.
And then they had
comic accurate Wolverine. Yes.
And then they had Henry Cavill, which was fun as Wolverine. He's like, oh, we'll treat you so much better.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we'll treat you so much better than those guys. You know, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, it's not a great movie.
Ryan Reynolds poked fun at like Fox for ruining everyone's storylines for 20 years. He's like, "This is how you do it." And like,
yeah, and he's just like everything else, just blow it aside. Doesn't matter.
Before the movie started, there was a preview for the new Captain America. Whatever it was.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Like I saw that, I'm like, it's like, well, another Captain America. Like, I don't know. I was so excited to see Deadpool, and then like a new Marvel thing comes out, and I'm not like, okay, good, a new continuation to the story or whatever. It's just, I don't know where Marvel's going wrong, but it's just not fun to watch those movies.
Exactly, but again, can I be honest?
They did see Red Hulk. We did see like a little glimpse of Red Hulk.
That's Harrison Ford. It's crazy. But I'll say this: Anthony Mackie, God bless him, he's a decent actor, but he's not fun to watch. He's never been fun to watch. Like he doesn't have the charisma as even a Chris, one of the Chris's. It's just, but I think overall, as Marvel itself, is that Marvel needs to be in the mocking stage. It needs to be in the stage where it can have fun in itself. And like you said, watching the Captain America trailer, there's no fun in that trailer. It's boring. That is a dull looking film.
Yeah.
And then you're treated to this orgasmic, just mocking, just ribaldry. We're going to laugh. We're going to have fun. And the movie broke all box office records. This is exactly what you wanted to see. Does Wolverine look goofy in the yellow suit? Yes. He looks goofy as hell.
Yeah.
And when he puts the mask on, he looks even stupider. But that's exactly what you want. That's fun.
No, it's fun. For sure.
Like, can I tell you what the scene that got the biggest laugh, though?
Yeah. Last one, and then we're going to wrap up.
So the biggest laugh is at the end when they're fighting and they're right about to fight all the Deadpool clones, like Lady Deadpool, Midget Deadpool, all that stuff. And there's that scene when Wolverine is walking in slow motion holding the ugly dog. And for some reason, my theater just lost their crap. Like, because they're not expecting, he's been so gruff, but he's holding the dog. And that's what's funny about it.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Just stupid fun.
Yeah, no, the whole movie was stupid fun, but I think it was the perfect amount of stupid fun, and
it's exactly what a summer movie should be. By the way,
and I know there's been like rumors of like is there going to be another one or more cameos? And it's like Ryan Reynolds is
more money.
Hey, it was the movie. The movie was the movie. There's no sequel. It doesn't lead into anything. This was just good fun, and I think
it doesn't do anything. It just wraps up where it started.
Yep, it was perfect. So I think we'll go ahead and leave it there. And they even had like a nice little montage towards the end. Just showed kind of a behind the scenes of all the films that only Deadpool.
All the X-Men films, by the way, all the X-Men films, which is
all
fine.
The X-Men films. You're right. So with that being said, the music means that we're about done here, ladies and gentlemen. Popzara.com if you want to find more podcasts, reviews, movies, comic book, game, books. Doesn't matter. Tech, doesn't matter. Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this. Everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Nathan's on last Friday, mostly, of every month.
Mostly.
And with that being said, we will catch him here next time. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.